have that head-to-head and one more win than the Eagles. That means they move from 3 to 2 seed and remain their spot atop an always competitive NFC North. Back with the fellas to explore it all. Emory Hunt, Patrick Peterson, and let's start surface level here on what Black Friday meant to what we might see come January. The Bears, their percentage skyrockets here to 80-some% to make the playoffs. Still got to play Green Bay twice. Still got to finish with Detroit. A big matchup with San Francisco in between there as well. This one goes miles in getting them to a place they haven't been in a very long time. The way they won today, Emory, how positive should Bears fans be about playoff football because they can run the way they did?
Very much so, because that's where I was going to go. When you look at teams that are usually the Final Four on both sides, AFC, NFC, it's usually a team that can play great run defense or great defense and can run the ball when they want to. And the Bears showed today that they can run the football when they wanted to, not because they had to, because it's the next play call in the shot sheet or whatnot. They ran it because they decided today we're just going to run the football. And you need that going into the postseason, because at the end of the day, just like we saw today, it helps you shrink the ball game. It puts pressure on the opposing team to maximize those possessions. If you can't deal with pressure, then you would hate to face a team that can run the football like the Bears ran today, or like any team that can run the football and play good defense.
Pat, it's hard to wrap heads around playoff football in Chicago after this last decade or so, but getting the hire right means so much in today's NFL. Ben Johnson has really breathed the belief into this football team. Where do you see that manifest most?
Man, for the most part, with him creating that identity of wanting to control the line of scrimmage on both sides of the ball, and again, if they're able to run the football as efficient and at will, like as they have been throughout the season, they're going to be a dangerous team, because last time I checked, they do play outdoors. Green Bay is an outdoor stadium. Philadelphia is an outdoor stadium. So these games, they're going to be used to. And if you're able to run the ball as efficient as the Chicago Bears, and Caleb Williams making plays in key moments as he did today, the play of the game was to Cole Kmet to close out the game. That throw rollout to his left to get his body back squared up and deliver a dime. And that's just something that he do at a very, very high level. But now, if you're able to run the ball, now you have to deal with that as a defense. So the Chicago Bears right now running game is the best that we have seen all year, and it's with a purpose, and Ben Johnson have definitely brought that with him.
It is the best running game Chicago has seen in quite some time, the best team they've seen in quite some time, and in turn, an inside track Emory now to the playoffs.
Yeah, here's the thing. It's because something Pat P said just is harking back to the greatest show on turf with the Rams, right? Everyone talked about that team because they were #1 in scoring, but people forget they could run the heck out the football with Marshall Faulk and Holcomb and company, right? But on defense, they were very opportunistic. I think they were like 15th that year in total defense. So the Bears are using the right formula to have success come postseason time, because you're going to need some luck. Let's say turnovers can be forced, but it's half force, half luck. And you need that going in. The fact that you know how to create those gives you that confidence to try to create those. But the fact that they can run when they want to, despite the dynamic pieces of that's the key. That's the key ingredient you need to go forward.
You go late 90s, early 2000s. I go even further back. This game, the first time since 1985 that the Bears had two separate 100-plus yard rushers in the same game. It was Walter Payton and Matt Suhey in that storied year in '85. Not saying we're heading anywhere like that. They recorded the music video in week 12, so we're already behind pace if that is your comparison point in Chicago. This means something, but not everything for Philadelphia, this loss. It's time to soul search, but because of that division, Pat, they're still squarely in that playoff picture and likely to be a division champ, barring something cataclysmic happening here down the stretch. Because of that fact, how do they apply pressure to themselves to get this sorted and be the team they were when they met the playoffs last year?
Joe, this league is a copycat league, right? And what teams are going to do, they're going to go back and watch this tape, what Chicago Bears, this last game they just played, Chicago Bears versus the Philadelphia Eagles, and want to see what was successful. And why the Chicago Bears were so successful, they was able to hit runs on the perimeter, able to hit runs up the gut, keeping that defensive line off balance and keeping their eyes wondering where the next run is going to be. And if you saw that game, the defensive line was uncomfortable the entire game, looking left, looking right. So, if teams want to have an opportunity to have an efficient running game on the Philadelphia Eagles moving forward, the Chicago Bears definitely gave you the blueprint. So we all know this offense of the Philadelphia Eagles have been struggling. They've been showing success in spurts. We saw what they was able to do last week in that first half and sputtered out in the second half and kind of carried that same momentum into this ball game, and they end up losing. So the blueprint is out on the Philadelphia Eagles. You just have to make sure if you're playing them that you stick to the strip, making sure that you oppose your will and don't give into the bully ball that they want to play. You know what I mean? Meaning stuff behind after the whistle, before the whistle, the chirping before the game. You just have to go in there and handle your business and make sure that you're on point with your game plan so you can walk out of there with a W.
Emory, maybe not by their own fans, but a defending champion is afforded the benefit of the doubt. Still a very good football team that needs to find that gear, that needs to get things to click, needs to see one go in per se. Where do they glean their confidence from right now, the Philadelphia Eagles?
Great question. I think they have to transition out of X's and O's mode to Jimmy's and Joe's mode because they got dudes. It's like, hey, I'm
11 was competing today.
Exactly. So you think A.J. Brown, I'm better than you on the opposite side. Devonta Smith, I'm faster than you and better than you on the other side. Dallas Goedert, Saquon Barkley. You talk about those two interior defensive linemen. You look at what they have on the edge and what they have at corner, what they have at safety. They have to play, to use a basketball reference, we're in basketball season, you have to play iso ball. I'm going to just beat the guy in front of me. And if they can go into that mode, they have more Jimmys and Joes than other teams collectively in the league. Now, when you add the X's and O's, that is where things are going to have to get tightened up. But if you can just go out there and say, okay, today is your day, your day, your day, that's how they can get back into a groove. And the good part about it, Joe and Pat, that schedule looks rather delicious for them to have. I'm still on delicious, by the way. It's still holiday season.
And I'm still uncomfortable.
That schedule looks rather nice for those guys to get going.
Uncomfortable situation for teams in the NFC trying to find themselves into that wild card picture, because when you see what's going on in the NFC North and what you see what's going on out west in the NFC, it's going to be hard-pressed to find wild card teams not from those two divisions. Emory, let's look at the North first, because Week 14, big-time matchup at Lambeau between the Bears and the Packers. You also have a massive one between the Cowboys and the Lions. Cowboys fighting for their playoff lives, however slim those chances may be. Detroit, not in that position, but it's getting late early now here for a Detroit team that's going to face a hungry Dallas team. When you look at these matchups in Week 14, what has to happen?
I mean, for my agenda, what needed to happen.
I believe you picked the Bears. You were like one of 3 people in the United States of America to pick the Bears to win the division.
So we're sitting right now on this side of the fence. But I would say Detroit has to look at how they can play on the road. And not only just on the road, but look at who they play on the road. They have the Rams, they have the Vikings, and they have to go and play Chicago. And to me, those teams that can get pressure can frustrate the Detroit Lions, as they are right now in flux along the offensive side of the football, along the offensive line. So they're going to have to find a way to supersede pressure. Green Bay has to find a way to find a consistent ground game. I love what I saw on Thanksgiving from Emmanuel Wilson, Josh Jacobs. You know, they can run the football, but can it be consistent? Can they run the ball when they want to? And can Jordan Love avoid the costly turnover? If he could lock in like he did on Thanksgiving, they're going to be a problem moving forward, because they have the front seven that can create all kinds of havoc, and they can sack the quarterback, they can stop the run, they're going to get healthier. So I think Detroit will be on the outside looking in once again because of who they play, where they play, and what they're struggling with right now.
And if that outside is looking in, that might be all the way outside looking in, Pat. We're going to have 2 division champions, obviously, out of the North and the West. Then we have 3 wild card positions that'll likely come from those 2 divisions as well. I'm looking at 6 teams that probably deserve to be in the playoffs out of those 2 divisions. Can you identify an odd man out right now? The Lions are obviously furthest back in the pack. In the West, you got obviously the Rams, who are maybe the best team in football right now, a solid Seahawks team, and a 49ers team that refuses to play to their injuries. Are the Lions the odd man out right now?
Yeah, I believe the Lions are the odd man out right now, just because of what Emory stated early on in his segment. Talked about the teams that are able to apply pressure, and Detroit right now have not been able to counteract that. Besides the running game, in the passing game, it has really been up and down, just because of the offensive line struggles and the pressure that defenses have been able to provide. It's going to come down to Green Bay and Chicago Bears, because we all know who's saying in their locker room, who's your daddy, and he has to play those guys twice, and that's what it's going to come down to. And the first game is coming up here next week, so it's going to come down to the Green Bay Packers and the Chicago Bears, who is the race to the first place in the North. And that second team would definitely be in the playoffs. But this year, it looks like it's going to be the Detroit Lions being the odd man out, just because of the losses that they obtained early on in the year. Now changing play callers, I believe the aggressiveness is starting to catch up with them. And yeah, it's a lot of turmoil going on right now in Detroit because they was one of the teams favored to come out of the NFC.
Difficult because 2 years ago, you're about 10 minutes away from a Super Bowl. Last year, it ends a little bit earlier. And this year, it could end even before playoff football with the two coordinators, offensive and defense, finding themselves head coaches of different teams, one being Ben Johnson. But this win by the Bears further amplifies the Thursday loss by the Detroit Lions to the Green Bay Packers. In the AFC, Steelers quarterback Aaron Rodgers going to make his return on Sunday against the Bills. Rodgers suffered that fractured wrist in his left hand in Week 11 against the Bengals that forced him to miss last week's loss to the Bears. The Steelers currently sit in first place in the AFC North, a half game ahead of the Ravens thanks to their Thanksgiving Day loss. Meantime, Texans quarterback C.J. Stroud will make his return on Sunday as well. That comes against the Colts. Stroud missed the past 3 games while in concussion protocol. The Texans went a perfect 3-0 in his absence under Davis Mills. Houston is currently 6-5, sitting 2 games behind Indy for first place in the AFC South. A look at your AFC playoff picture, and it's a bit more muddled than the NFC. Obviously, we have teams in the hunt that are going to try and unseat those wild card teams. But as for your division leaders, the Pats sitting pretty, the Broncos as well. The Colts could be down but not out just yet. Daniel Jones dealing with a fracture in his leg. And then in the AFC North, Steelers and Ravens. Who wants it? All right, back with the fellas. Emory Hunt, I want you to spot shadow a game or two that you're not going to be able to take your eyes off on Sunday.
There's a Final Four matchup that we have here that tells you everything. Steelers versus Buffalo and the Texans versus Colts. Those games will determine a ton right now in the AFC. And I look at the Bills. The Bills can't stop the run, and both their offensive tackles are going to miss this ball game against T.J. Watt and company. So that, to me, look at this. Your top linebacker, your 2 starting tackles, and Curtis Samuel's just out there like, hey, man, like I want to play too, but he can't. So that's a bad matchup for the Buffalo Bills. And then on the other side, when you look at Daniel Jones, and we all saw the clip of him barely walking.
Ginger.
Exactly. And they say, oh, yeah, he's good to go. Like hell he is. And now you have the best defense in football, in our opinion, or my opinion at least, the Houston Texans, in terms of what they can do to get pressure. If Jonathan Taylor is not throwing passes in this ball game, it's going to be curtains for Indianapolis. So those 2 AFC games determines a lot, because the Colts will go on the slide, and Buffalo could get themselves run out of the postseason because they can't stop the run.
Patrick Peterson going to be with us in studio here on CBS Sports HQ this Sunday. Pat, you know how it gets going in the green room? We got every game. We're helping each other out. See something, say something. Where are your eyes going to be as we take a look at the whole AFC landscape?
Man, it's going to be on that Colts in the Houston game, and obviously the Pittsburgh and the Buffalo Bills game, because both of those guys are in must-win situation. You know, we know the Pittsburgh Steelers are barely holding on to the division lead right now in the North. The Bills are scratching and clawing to keep their to stay in that spot that they're in right now, because you got a hungry Houston team that actually beat them, so they'll hold the tiebreaker if it comes down to that. And then you got the Chiefs, who you can never really count out as well. So it's going to come down to the wire. But that Pittsburgh and Buffalo Bills game, that's one I'm definitely going to keep my eye on, because you got Aaron Rodgers coming back off a fractured left wrist. You got Josh Allen, who wants to continue to play at a high level, and he's going to have to put his cape on. And Emory talked about how the Buffalo Bills cannot stop the run, and we know that the Pittsburgh Steelers want to wear their big boy pads and pose their will with that XL set. They probably run that formation the most out of any teams in the NFL. So it's going to come down to if the Buffalo Bills can muster up enough to stop this run, and can Josh Allen be Superman on Sunday?
All right, I want to close with this. If we could throw that AFC playoff picture back up, because it's an interesting situation right now. The Chiefs are as down as we have seen them. The Bills as well. The Ravens can't get it sorted. Your division leaders, all teams that are outside of the Steelers, finding success at this level for the first time in quite some time. Emory Hunt, who do you trust most in the AFC right now?
You know what's funny, Joe? You could take that entire wild card picture and take the top 3 teams in the hunt.
Yeah,
exactly. I don't trust none of those teams in the wild card. The only team I trust right now, based on what I've seen, is probably the Houston Texans.
And you're saying it out of the side of your mouth. They just won 3 games without their starting quarterback. If he comes back and they struggle, we know that defensive unit, man, they don't give up points. You'd be hard-pressed to find 20 against them. In a couple words here, P2, the team you trust the most.
The team I trust the most will probably be Houston as well,
Wow.
just because of what their defense is able to do. They play at a high level. You get C.J. Stroud back, and it's going to be interesting to see how he's able to acclimate with the offense with this 3-game winning streak that they're on right now. But probably the Houston Texans right now, man, for what they're able to provide as a defense.
Yeah, if you're picking the best unit, singular unit in the AFC, it's either that defense or the Denver defense. We'll see how it shakes out there and in the NFC as well. Patrick Peterson, Emory Hunt, the exploration, always a blast. Thank you, gentlemen.
Yes, sir.
Here's a look at your slate coming up on CBS and streaming on Paramount Plus this Sunday. Texans and Colts, our fellas outlining what's at stake, and then Bills and Steelers, so much there as well. When they hit zeros, you join us right here on CBS Sports HQ for full highlights and reaction every single Sunday.